We're nearing the end of 2019, yet when I tell people that a robot vacuums my house, they still look at me weird. Well, this is it. I call her Karen. It started off as a joke, it became very quickly unironic, so throughout this review you will unapologetically hear me refer to this robot vacuum as she or her.
Are you purposefully trying to use words that assert your male privilege?
So other than Karen, this is actually referred to as the Neato D4, which is a mid-level robot vacuum in the Neato D range, which vary in power, features, and most importantly, price. So when you first take out the Neato D4, the setup steps involve downloading the Neato app for iOS or Android, connecting it to your Wi-Fi and letting it out on its first exploratory mission. So using LiDAR, which is a light version of radar using lasers, very cool. The Neato robot vacuums are able to navigate their way around your home, creating a floor plan and mapping out any obstacles in its way. So if you take a look at my floor plan, for example, you can see the outlines of the sofa and the desk, so she knows to go around it. Told you I'd call her a she. Now this first exploratory voyage can seem kind of bumpy, because other than LiDAR, one of the methods it uses to detect obstacles in this first voyage seems to be to, ram into them. However, this does improve after the first floor plan has been saved, and if you're particularly worried about it, there's even a gentle mode within the app that you can turn on to protect your expensive electrical equipment. Or, your kids or pets or something. So its first voyage is over and you've got a floor plan that's been sent back to your app. Well, one of the great features of the Neato D4 and the entire Neato D series lineup is a feature which you can use in the app called no-go lines. So some cheaper robot vacuums actually kind of have a archaic version of this. They'll actually give you like a piece of magnetic strip so that you can put it over doorways if you don't want it to go in a particular room or something. It's annoying, it looks ugly, and drawing it on an app is definitely the way of the future. So the point of the no-go lines, obviously if you've got areas of your house where you don't want it to go, you think it's going to get particularly stuck, maybe there's an area you can see on mine, for example, I've drawn one on one side of the room. I know I've got the router in the corner, lots of cables for laptop chargers and things like that. There's an area of the kitchen where we keep the dog bowl and dog food. I don't want it to ram into that and spill it all over the place. And the last one is just around my desk, and that is purely because sometimes when I'm working, the force which she can put into her movement sometimes using the kind of tank truck wheels that are on the bottom, me on this chair, on a wooden floor, she can knock me out of the way to make sure she completes her mission. Tired of you pushing me around. So that's pretty much everything to do with setup, but once that's out of the way, how does the Neato D4 actually do with cleaning? Is it gonna eradicate your days of pushing around a Hoover like some kind of chump? So I'll preface that with a story. The day I received the Neato D4, my OCD ass had just finished hoovering every single room in the house. What a waste, I thought. Still, me being a child, eager to play with my new toy, I sent it out anyway. Now the Neato D4 has a battery life of 75 minutes, so when it returned 20 minutes later and started beeping at me, I thought, great, something's got to be wrong with it. Turns out within that 20-minute space, it actually completely filled up the 700 milliliter dust bin. And this was in the old flat, which was much smaller than this one. And within the same hour that I had just been manually pushing around our Hoover, she'd somehow found dust and crevices that I didn't even know existed. But that was a few months ago. We've now lived with Karen for about 6 months. So here are some of the things that I like, some of the features that are good, some of the things which I think need improvements, and are possibly some of the blockers that stopping technology like this becoming more common in the household in 2019 amongst people other than tech heads and the incurably lazy. I fall under both of those categories. So as I mentioned, the Neato D4 is a mid-range level robot vacuum. This one specifically is the pet edition, which ranges between £400 and £500, which sounds expensive. It's the one thing that kind of puts people off when I tell them about it. But what I would say is, have you seen the price of Dysons recently? But I can honestly say for that £400 or £500 for this, there are some features you get on the Neato range which you just don't get on cheaper robot vacuums. So firstly, in terms of coverage, using that LiDAR technology, the Neato D4 is able to tell the areas it's already been and make a clean pass of the entire floor plan in an intelligent and organized pattern, compared to some of the cheaper robot vacuums which you'll let go and they'll aimlessly bump around in a random pattern, so you've never got full assurance that it's actually hit all of the areas within your home. As well, if you live in a flat like me, or you're thinking of using this on the second floor of a property, that navigation also includes something they call cliff detection, which is a little bit exaggerated. It's basically ledge detection. It's not going to take a tumble down the stairs. In terms of navigation, I've been super impressed with how precise this thing can be. A great example of this is the mess of YouTube equipment that I keep in the corner of the room, lights, tripods, things like that. Karen is able to precisely navigate around the legs, in and out, underneath, without ever once knocking a piece of that equipment over. Another design feature of the Neato D4 compared to some of those cheaper models, it has a front-facing spiral brush. What I found with a lot of the cheaper models, they actually have side spinning brushes, which seem to just knock debris and dust around the room before it ever has a chance to pick it up. And last couple of features worth mentioning. Firstly, giving your Neato a nickname actually has a purpose, opposed to just being creepy. As it's connected to the Wi-Fi, you can actually start and pause the cleaning using Alexa and Google Home devices. So I can just say, Alexa, start Karen. Bye, Karen. And off she goes. Next, so you don't have to follow it around your home while it's doing the cleaning. If at any point it ever gets stuck or gets something tangled in its front brush like a cable or something, it will send you an adorable push notification to your phone that says, help me, I'm stuck. And lastly, if at any point during the cleaning, either the bin becomes full or the battery isn't enough to get it around the rest of the floor plan, using a feature called return and resume, it will return to the base, let you know that it either needs to be emptied or it will just sit and charge until it knows it has enough power to do the rest of the floor plan and then pick up exactly where it left off. Not to mention, when it returns to the base, it does this adorable little butt wiggle, something you rarely see on a robot outside of Japan. Which leads us to the few complaints I have about the other woman in my life. Firstly, you may notice down the side of mine a couple of scrapes and kind of paint marks. That is because of the reverse and forward action it uses to navigate around some obstacles can actually cause it to rub up against painted walls or skirting boards. However, if you notice that happening at any point, it's a great use for the no-go lines just to prevent it entering areas where that could be a risk. Next is battery life. As I mentioned, is 75 minutes. For me, it's just about enough to cover the square footage of this 2-bedroom flat, but I would say that's probably the maximum amount of space it can cover in a single charge. On that note, if you needed to cover 2 stories of a house, the Neato D4 can only hold 1 floor plan at a time. So your options become buy 2 of them, or the Neato D6 and D7 have 120-minute battery life and are capable of storing multiple floor plans at a time. And my last complaint, I've kept it till last because it may only be relevant to myself because of a current issue I'm currently having with my Wi-Fi. My ISP said the other day it cut out 53 times in a day, so thanks for that, BT. But because of those Wi-Fi cutouts, the Neato D4 disconnected from the Wi-Fi, and when I needed it to start up again, I wasn't able to get it going without force stopping the app, clearing the cache, deleting Karen from the app, and then having to add her again, which felt like a weird breakup, but then we got back together. But those small complaints aside, I really can't recommend enough that people join the future and start adding these kinds of devices to their daily life. Specifically, the Neato D range, in my opinion, is great. Yes, the price at the moment is somewhat steep, so if you're thinking of picking one of these up, I'd highly recommend kind of waiting until Amazon Prime Day like I did, or Black Friday. I'll leave a link in the description down below to all of the Neato D series lineup, as well as a great comparison video from Vacuum Wars, who actually helped me make the decision of which one of these models to go with. But that's it from me and Karen. So if you enjoyed this video, I found it particularly helpful, a like rating would be appreciated. If you have not already, remember to subscribe to the channel. And as always, I shall see you in the next one. What's that? She said subscribe.